Louisville just landed its first transfer portal commit for the 2025-26 season, and Adrian Wooley.
Not only are his stats incredible, but he also did it as a true freshman. This kid went from being the 303rd ranked recruit in the class of 2024 to now being a top 5 transfer portal player. There's great reason why.
Jake Hook, there are a few things that Louisville, Kentucky is known for being the first to do, right? Like, I think it's well known around this town that we're the first to put cheese on a burger. Did you know that? Did you know that that's a thing?
I did.
I think that Louisville, they were it was the town of the lady that wrote the depressing ass happy birthday song. That's what we're known for. But I would like to become known for the team that went from winning 8 games 2 seasons ago to being the team that won a national championship. I'm not sure if a team has accomplished that before, but Louisville is taking the first steps to getting there. Starting 502 podcast, Presley Meyer, Jake Hook on the other end. We are coming to you on the back end of some very exciting news. Louisville just landed its first transfer portal commit for the 2025-26 season, and Adrian Wooley out of Kennesaw State. Jake, you did a substantial write-up on Wooley. You've watched a lot of his tapes, so we're going to get into that, break that down. Jake, how are you, sir?
I am doing so much better now that the Adrian Wooley news has broken. I know me and Jacob had planned on doing this episode at lunchtime. Technology did not allow me to. My computer updated and it took literally 55 minutes. And then he was like, I got to go take care of my kid. So I think my computer knew. My computer was saying, just give it a few more hours. The podcast will be better. And they were right. Now we get to talk about Adrian Wooley being a commit as opposed to just a potential player that we would have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already in for the potential nicknames. Wooley Slamith was my first one that came to mind. I can't think of anything else creative enough. Wooley Slamith. That's a hard one to say though. So we might have to come up with something a little bit more creative or out of the box. But also like the Adrian references from Rocky. So, but yeah, Jake, tell us a little bit about Wooley. It's really hard to say this dude's name for me. I don't know why. But tell us about Adrian Wooley. What does he bring to the table? We know he's a 6'5" transfer guard from Kennesaw State. What else you got?
Yeah, so Adrian Wooley is one of 4 5-star ranked players by 24/7 Sports right now. So, I mean, I think that just lets you know there are more than 1,000 players in the portal right now, and he is one of the 4 best in their eyes. And, I mean, there's good reason for it. Not only are his stats incredible, but he also did it as a true freshman. This kid went from being the 303rd ranked recruit in the class of 2024 to now being a top 5 transfer portal player. And there's great reason why he's a true 3-level scorer. I think a lot of the guys that Louisville is looking at are really elite 3-point shooters. They may lack in the athleticism category. They may be a little undersized, whatever it is. This guy lacks nothing. He can score from the 3-point line. He's a 60% shooter at the rim, which is incredible for a guard. You see like guys like James Scott, they shoot 70% at the rim. He's a 40+% 3-point shooter. He's got a great mid-range jump shot. He's also great off the catch. He's a top 10% shooter off the catch and then a top 25% shooter off the dribble. So, I mean, truly has it all, is also a great facilitator. And I think one thing that's really important is the fit with Mikel Brown, because we know he'll be coming in. He is almost guaranteed to be our starting point guard next year. You don't get top 10 players in recruiting classes and often not start them. So I'm sure some people are curious to see how that fit with him and Wooley would be. But Wooley was the off guard for Kennesaw State this year, still put up nearly 4 assists a game and still thrived in a role where he was playing with a point guard, honestly, that shot the ball in the games that I watched way too much compared to how talented Wooley is. So I'm not concerned about the fit at all between Wooley and Mikel Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind, right, is not only how good is this guy, how does this game translate, but how does he fit with the vision and the skill set required of a Pat Kelsey coach team? And I think the answer to that is from what we know, it seems like he really fits the mold well, and he is somebody that can be a building block as Louisville's kind of assembling this roster, right? Like there's some pieces that we don't know how they're going to fall into place yet, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen. You know, like is Kenai Roos going to stick around? Is Kason Pryor going to come back for another year? Is Javon Hadley coming back, right? Like there are some things that we still don't know, and we may not know for a while, right? But one thing we do know now is that Louisville's backcourt is solidified as one of the best in the conference going into next season, regardless of what anybody else does, right? You bring in the number one point guard essentially in the 2025 class, and now you're bringing in essentially the number one combo guard in the 2025 transfer class. So not lacking in talent, that's for sure. And I think the one thing to point out here as well is that Louisville will have size. I think for so long, Louisville has been known as this program that has a lack of size, particularly at the guard spot, right? They might have quick, speedy guards. They might have guys that can get downhill, get to the bucket quickly, beat you off the dribble, press you, and wear you out. But they've never really been known as a team that has like this backlog of just really skilled, lanky, tall guards. And there's something to be said about that, right? Mikel Brown, 6'4", 6'5", right? And then Adrian Wooley now is a 6'5" guard. Both guys that were undersized a little bit from what I can tell, right? Like Mikel Brown was a guy that like middle school coming into high school was very undersized. And so he developed the skill set of a smaller player. Then now he's kind of grown into this longer like NBA style frame and really kind of has taken things to the next level. Seems like it was the same way with Wooley. Coming out of high school, he's listed as like 6'2", 6'3", grew, you know, a couple of inches, kind of grew into his frame a little bit. And now, I mean, he's a guy that like a who's who of coaches were after this guy, right? Like his final four was Louisville, Kansas, Alabama, and Auburn. The other thing to note as well is that Wooley is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Louisville was able to get the first visit from him and then lock it down, secure a commitment from him before he could even go to Alabama. I don't know what does that speak to in your mind, Jake?
I updated our transfer portal article today, and in the section of like what's the latest buzz, it was we got Wooley on the visit, which is great, but you really want to lock those guys down immediately. You want to get the commit 1-2 days after he left, and technically we are 2 days out now, but the rumors online were that Alabama was pushing hard now that they got knocked out of the tournament to get him in on a visit. You're thinking, Jesus, this kid is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Of course he would want to play at Alabama. So it was concerning to me. I thought that if we were going to land him, it would likely come immediately after that visit, which still 2 days is pretty quick. But the longer that time wore on, the more concerned I was going to get. So yeah, it's huge, and it's impressive too, because Alabama is one of the few schools in the nation that has an NIL budget competitive with Louisville. They had the home court advantage. They've got Nate Oates. They're coming off a Final Four and then an Elite Eight this year. Like they have so much to sell a kid, and they've got an open guard spot. Mark Sears is leaving. So I think truly impressive to see what Louisville has done in kicking off this class and landing Adrian Wooley.
Yeah, I mean, they say, right, that the best visits to have if you're a coaching staff are the first visit and the last visit, right? Everybody else just kind of blends in. You don't often see, it happens, right? But you don't often see where somebody takes a bunch of visits and they end up picking like the third school that they go to. And I think there's a reason for that, right? So another guy that you mentioned that also took one of his first visits to Louisville was Isaac McKneely. It's gonna instinctually, because of how long he's kind of been in our peripheral, to not say Liam McKneely, the guard from UConn, but Isaac McKneely, a guy that Louisville fans should be intimately familiar with. 6'4", 190-pound guard out of Virginia. Outside of Rain Smith, this was the best shooter in the ACC this season. And you could even say that he is overall maybe a better shooter. He shot a higher percentage, but a guy that had, the greenest possible light from Virginia this year, and a guy that is apparently very seriously considering Louisville. Tell us what to know about Isaac McKneely.
Yeah, I think me and you alike have both been hearing McKneely to Louisville rumors since late 2024. So it was no surprise whenever he came to the portal, and immediately Louisville was one of those teams to reach out to him and then him come take the visit. McKneely is the ideal Rain Smith replacement. I mean, there are players that can do it. I don't think there's a better player in the portal to fit that mold, fit that style that Rain Smith was able to succeed so greatly at last year. I mean, 70% of McKneely's shots last year came from behind the three-point line. He shot 7.5 threes a game and hit 42% of them, which is just a crazy combination. The more you see those attempts go up, the smaller that percentage number is supposed to get. So to shoot above 40% at that clip is so impressive. He made 20 threes that were deeper than 25 feet, which I think is really big to this Pat Kelsey offense, because as you saw, the way Rain Smith was guarded, even when Rain was 28, 29, 30 feet away from the basket, his man is still 2 feet away. He cannot help out at all. And it would be the exact same thing with McKneely. He's also a top 3% catch and shoot jump shooter. Super, super impressive. But I think the thing I am most excited about is that I think he can be the Rain Smith role plus. He is and no shade towards Rain. I absolutely loved having him this season, but he did have limitations to his game. Liam McKneely is, I think, just as good of a shooter as Rain, but he also brings in this ability to facilitate. He averaged 3 assists a game at Virginia, which doesn't sound great, 3 assists a game, but then you're like, oh yeah, Virginia was 350th in the nation in points per game. It's actually not a bad rate at all. So I think that prior to our commitment that we landed earlier today, I thought that, Liam McKneely would be such a great two-guard pairing with, you literally said that we were going to say we were going to get Liam and Isaac. Yes. Prior to getting Adrian Wooley, I was thinking like Isaac McKneely pairs so well because he's got that facilitating. I still think that he pairs well. Like you can go Mikel 1, Isaac 2, and then you can go to the 3 with Wooley. So I think it works so well. He's an underrated passer. He's a great scorer. And another thing he does really well is he can create his own shot. That's one thing we saw Rain really, I mean, he's running around nonstop. And so does McKneely. But Rain, if you gave him the ball with 5 seconds left, was likely not going to get a great shot and likely not going to be able to score in an isolation situation. McKneely can't do that. McKneely was asked to do that a lot on a really shitty Virginia offense. So I'm super excited about him. And I think that just because we landed Wooley does not mean that we're out on McKneely now.
No, not at all. I mean, look, ultimately right now, if we look at Louisville's backcourt, it is Kobe Rogers, who was, one of the primary ball handlers for Pat Kelsey at College of Charleston, in his last season there, ACL injury, coming back from that this season, but looks good to go. But then obviously you have Mikel Brown, and now you have the addition of Adrian Wooley. And so there's still absolutely room in this backcourt, right? Like you still want to add at least 1 to 2 more players through the portal. And so I think that McKneely is just a natural fit, right? Because now you have that size of the guard where you could go like quote unquote 3 guard lineup, and it still goes like 6'5", 6'5", 6'5" type of thing, which I think is more than manageable. I mean, Louisville played 3 and 4 guard lineups this season with Javon Hadley at the center, right? So like
we have centers at 6'5" this last year,
right?
Now
right.
we'll have 3 guards.
Right. There's no limitations to what you could do there. So I don't think that's a deterrent at all for Isaac McKneely. I think that one thing so I've seen a lot of this fodder on social media, right? That Isaac McKneely essentially is just a shooter. I think that assertion is absolutely garbage. I think that's incorrect. I think this is a guy that's an extremely aggressive player, a guy that can get downhill. He can cut away from the ball really well and get the ball in the lane and make a lot of shots. He's a guy that finishes well around the rim. He's a guy that has great control over the ball, right? Like you talked about, he's able to get into the paint and create for others. This is a guy that, yes, probably his ideal situation would be to play sort of a Rain Smith style game, but he was the guy for Virginia this year, right? Like he was relied upon so heavily. His usage rate was off the charts. Teams were doubling him a ton, and yet he still put up a better statistical season than Rain Smith as far as percentage of shots that go in. So he had the green light to shoot from wherever he wanted all over the floor. He did so and did so efficiently. But I think that's something that people are going to be surprised about wherever Isaac McKneely ends up, right? Like say he ends up at Tennessee. I think he could flourish in a system like that because he's not just a shooter. He's absolutely more of like a 3-and-D type of guy. I mean, look, he came from Virginia. He was recruited as kind of like one of the next guys up for Tony Bennett. So he absolutely can be a guy that can be more of a lockdown defender, a guy that you can say it's towards the end of the game and you just can't rely upon Mikel Brown as a defender. Like you can substitute offense for defense and put McKneely in. Like there's all kinds of ways that you could utilize him in this offense as we see it right now. So I think that's really exciting. Any other comments on Isaac McKneely?
I know I'm going to say Liam at some point again. Yeah, I agree with you, though McKneely does have some athletic limitations, as you can see if you watched him play. Defensively, I'm not concerned about him. Like if you watch him, his defensive positioning is always great, and he's also larger frame, bigger bodied guard as well. So I think that you're right. He is more than a shooter. He's as good of a shooter as Rain is, but he's a better passer. I think he's likely a better defender as well. So to land a guy like that would be incredible. And to just give us another ball handler. Now that we have Wooley, it's not as necessary, but I was so fearful coming into this transfer portal that we've just got Mikel Brown. And I think Mikel Brown is great. But relying upon an 18-year-old to handle the ball and be your primary scorer and facilitator for, 60, 70% of the game is scary. And so to have guys like Wooley, to have a guy like McKneely come in, I think is really exciting. Last thing I also did want to touch back on Wooley a little bit.
Yeah.
I was really, really, really impressed with just like his ability to play good, smart basketball. Like if you watch him on Kennesaw State, he's impressive off the ball. Like a lot of times I'll scout these guys, and especially when they're the best player on a team that's not great, they start to get lazy. They're not in help side where they need to be. They're not boxing out. They're not communicating. As soon as they get the ball, they're looking for their own shot. That is not the way Adrian Wooley plays. Like on defense, he's communicating. He is in the right spot. He is rotating well. When a shot goes up, he's finding his man and he's boxing out. If he gets the rebound, he's not just head down, dribble. He's rebound and push up to the next guy. And even like on offense, it was impressive. He'd get the ball in the wing, 12 seconds left. He'd make a couple moves, couldn't beat a guy. And instead of being like, screw it, force it, take a bad shot, he'd get it back out, let the offense run for another 12 seconds. And then if he had to, force a shot. So I was very impressed not only with the talent of this player, a guy who's 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.5 steals, but also was very impressed by the mentality of this player as well.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it's hard for us from the outside looking in to know what kind of personality a player has and how he's going to fit. But I think that's a big selling point too of being a part of this program now, right? Is that your personality, who you are, is valued, and you need to be able to fit and assimilate with the rest of the roster. And clearly the staff saw something in Wooley that they liked. And could appreciate and think that he'd fit well with the existing core of players that we know will already be there. One other guy that we want to talk about, because I think that Louisville is it's just natural to go guard heavy. I think it's easier to grab a guard on the front end and build around them rather than getting a big man, right? Like I think there's just less of them to go around. So one other guy that I want to talk about was Lamar Wilkerson. A guy that people are talking about a little bit less than a Wooley or a McKneely at this point, but a guy that clearly the staff has reached out to, that there's mutual interest there. But this is a guy from Sam Houston State, and he was potentially a better shooter than a Rain Smith, than an Isaac McKneely, right? Like he was one of the elite shooters in the country. So tell us a little bit about what you learned about Wilkerson and what he brings to the table.
Yeah, I think he is this year's Chaz Lanier, maybe not to that like elite level. And obviously it depends on what team he goes to how much other people see him and how much recognition he gets. But he's a larger guard wing with just an incredible jump shot. He shot 45% on 8 3-point attempts per game. That's crazy. At one point in the season, like middle of the season, not like first few games, he was shooting 50% from 3. That's crazy. That is so insane. And he's shooting 8 threes a game. So, I mean, this guy is shooter extraordinaire. He can take it to the basket some. Only about 23% of his shots come at the rim. So he's playing traditionally and typically out on the perimeter, but he can attack the basket a little bit. I'm impressed by Wilkerson. I think I saw On 3 has him like outside of the top 70 transfer players, which I'm watching him. I don't think he's not Wooley. He's not a top 5, not a top 10 player in the transfer portal, but I think he's a top 20 player. He's super, super impressive. When I watched him play at Sam Houston, also had more guard skills than I guess I expected. You see a guy shoot 8 threes a game, 45%. You're thinking like this man's just going to be running around off ball, just taking open jump shots whenever he can. No, like this dude was facilitating the offense. So solid passer as well. The only thing I will say about him, I watched him play against Pittsburgh, and his athleticism was kind of like glaringly below what it needed to be. He struggled. He's 5 of 15 in that game. I think he had 5 turnovers as well. It's one of the few teams, high level teams that they played against. So that's my only concern there. But I mean, a guy that can shoot that well is a guy you take every day of the week. Also, I'm pretty sure he's going to go to Arkansas. He's from Arkansas. The reporters have talked about how he said he grew up wanting to play for the Razorbacks, and Arkansas is heavily in on him now. So while I think he's a great fit for Louisville, I don't likely see us landing him. But I was also terrified that we weren't going to get Wooley after he didn't commit immediately after his recruitment visit. So I could be wrong, and I'd be very happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, similar thing, right? A guy that spurned his hometown school to go to Louisville. Could be the same thing there. Quick stat update. Rain Smith, 107 made threes this season. Lamar Wilkerson, 109 made threes. And by the way, Isaac McKneely was just shy of 100. I think he had 98, if I remember correctly. Let's see, Isaac McKneely, 101. I was wrong about that. 101 3-point shots.
So if you make more than 100 threes in the season, Pat Kelsey is going to be in your inbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And should be, right? Like this is how we're recruiting now, right? And clearly there's a, as we kind of wrap this up here, there is a very clear picture being painted of what the staff is wanting. I think 3-point shooting is great, but they're also looking for bigger, more physical guards. I think that there was something to be said this season about, really your guards were, even if Corin Johnson doesn't get hurt, you have Chucky Hepburn, who's 6'2", 6'3", Rain Smith, who's 6'2" or 6'3", Kobe Rogers, who's 6'2", 6'3", somewhere in that area. Point being, Fat Edwards was more of the prototypical build that they're looking for. And when he came in, I think that the immediate thought process looking at the size and skill set of the other guards was that he's probably more of like a 2-3, which kind of came to fruition a little bit, right? But I think that you saw towards the end of the season how a bigger guard can thrive in Pat Kelsey's system, because those are the guys that can possess the just makeup of a player that can score at all 3 levels. If a guy is big and can shoot the ball, then he can also kind of bang in the post. He can be a great cutter. He can play well away from the ball and really stretch the floor. And I think that's what this coaching staff more than anything desires in a guard or a wing. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how they start to really round this roster into shape. But hell, if this is all you get at guard and you bring in some walk-ons, like, you're still pretty content with the way that things have gone so far. Could not imagine them having gone much better to this point, Jake.
Yeah, it's the best possible imaginable start we could have had. Like, the only other thing would be if Isaac McKneely wants to drop an Instagram post or a tweet right now and let us know he's also playing there too. But I think he's on a visit in Knoxville, so we'll likely hear something soon on that front as well. But yeah, it could not go any better, and I think it's also huge. It's a rock rolling down a hill. There's a phrase I'm looking for there. Gets the ball rolling, I guess. Whenever you get this huge pickup right there, and then other transfers are like, I want to go play with Wooley. Louisville's got Mikel Brown, Wooley, Nate Ament, whoever it is, Sonny Frew on this team. I want to go play for him. So I think not only from a talent standpoint is it huge, but also as we're looking to gain more momentum in this transfer portal class, you could not have started in any better way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'll use I was cooking up a solid LinkedIn post today, but I'll share it here. So my dog Lulu, right? So Australian Shepherd, you know how that is, Jake. Your dog is at least part Aussie, right? And they like to be entertained. But from the very beginning, my dog Lulu, she named after, we do the Louisville names for our dogs. She learned about her invisible fence. right? And from the first hour that we had the invisible fence, from that moment on, she will not cross the invisible fence line. And we learned that no matter if a frisbee goes into the street or a ball or there's another dog out there or somebody's holding a T-bone steak on the other side, standing on the sidewalk, this dog is not going to go across this line. Like that has been very apparent from the beginning. We even learned that if she gets a shower like she did last night, we accidentally forget to put her collar back on, or, you know, she slips out of it or something like that, she's not going to cross the line regardless. Really, it's just for the peace of mind of our neighbors more than anything else, right? Point being that this dog, if she could withstand just a little bit of pain, of growth, right? That she could get to the other side, and there's this whole other world of possibilities on the other side. But because she's created this mental, visible or invisible boundary that she will not cross, then because of that, she is kind of kept within these boundaries. And so I would say today, the invisible fence is being broken through by Pat Kelsey, by this staff, we've set these boundaries over the last 5, 6, 7 years of this losing culture, of this culture that where, you know, when times get hard, you don't punch back. You let the other team kind of take over. And really, I mean, that's kind of how the season finished this year, right? Like you just could not get that last punch, and you couldn't be the last person to, you know, you couldn't get the last word in, right? And so I think this Louisville team, they're looking to get some dogs. They're looking to build this team in the mold of and find players that have the DNA of winning basketball and winning culture. And I think that they've taken a great step here today. So couldn't be more excited. We're going to keep it at this for today.
Also,
yeah,
agree with you. Woolley is the type of guy that takes you from the ceiling we had this year. Like he's that type of talent. Like, you know, I think even if we all stay healthy and we get our best draw, we're probably, you know, Sweet 16, Elite 8-ish, somewhere around there.
Sure.
Got players like Wooley take us to the potential that we want to be at. Final Fours, national championships, landing players of this elite status.
Yeah,
is the next logical step, and it's impressive that Pat Kelsey's able to do it. Also, we haven't talked about it at all. I don't know how realistic it is, but he's only going to be a sophomore. Like there is a chance this is not just 1 year. I know we're so used to these transfer players being Javon Hadley's, being Chucky Hepburn's, Terrence Edwards. 1 year, we love him, it's amazing, but then they're gone. Wooley could be here for 2, even 3 years if he wanted to. Like that's crazy. The talent that he is at right now as a 19-year-old, imagine him being able to be here for 2 more years. That's another thing that I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in, because you never know. He could transfer out, he could go to the NBA. But that's just another aspect of this that like this might not even be just 1 year. This could be 2, 3 years with Wooley.
Right. And I think that's what makes it so enticing, right? Is that this could be the beginning of something really special. Like you don't look back and think about a David Padgett being a transfer from Kansas. You think about Louisville-centered David Padgett. You don't think about Luke Hancock being a transfer from George Mason. You think about the MOP at Louisville. Could this be a guy like that? That's the kind of excitement that we're talking about here with Adrian Wooley. Hopefully the next time that we hop on, Jake, we'll have even more exciting things to talk about. Stay tuned, stateoflouisville.com. Jake has like 30,000 words on transfers at this point. Every player that Louisville's reaching out to, we're writing about, we're documenting it. We're trying to give you the breakdown of what that looks like. Jake has done a fantastic job at that, so make sure you check that out. Make sure you follow him on the X platform at Uville_updates. Make sure you follow us at the State of Louisville and at Starting 502. And until next time, let's get out of here. Go Cards. Let's get some more recruits.
Adrian.